Hello and welcome to Super Great Kids Stories. Wise tales from storytellers around the world, which will make you laugh and sometimes cry. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim and I love stories. Hello, Super Great Kids, and how are you? I've been walking in the Welsh Hills this week. I wonder if you've been out on a long walk somewhere this summer. Walking is a great time to tell stories, especially when you're close to the end of a long walk and everyone is a bit tired and crabby. Stories help to pass the time faster. Now, I imagine for quite a few of you, it's back to studying and school after a nice long holiday. I expect you're feeling a little bit excited and maybe a bit nervous. So I thought we'd share a rather silly story this week to make you smile. It's told by a storyteller from Norfolk in the UK who's new to Super Great Kids Stories. His name is Dave Tong and he loves history and stories which come from people who lived long ago. Just before we hear from Dave, here's a little game for you. Can you come up with some words to do with school? Begin with the letter A or A and see how far down the alphabet you can get. So, for example, A for alphabet, B for books, C for crayons, D for desk, and so on. Now, over to you while we have a quick word with the grown-ups. Ready? Off you go.
Hello, Super Great Kim.
Hello, Super Great David.
Kim, I have a question.
I love questions. Fire away.
What is the best kind of story?
Well, I think the best kind of story is an old story which has been told for many years and passed on from person to person.
Ooh, that's a good answer. I thought you were going to say something specific like only Baba Yaga stories or Nancy stories or stories that have to have two-headed giants in them.
No, just a story which has been loved and passed along and told by lots of people.
Right, okay. So if we really want more people to hear stories, seems like we're going to need help from our lovely listeners.
Yes, we know these stories because people have been sharing them with each other for donkey's years. I tell you, you tell someone else, they tell someone else, and soon everyone knows the story.
You know what, Kim? I think maybe it's such a good idea that we could possibly put it into song. If you tell a friend and I tell a friend, we'll all have a super great time. And if they share one and they pass that along, a whole lot of us, a whole lot of us, a whole lot of us will have a super great time.
Hello, Super Great Kids, I'm back. I wonder how far you got. Did you get as far as H for handwriting? Well, that's really good. And if you got as far as P for pencil or paper, that is phantasmagorical. Well done, you. Now, it's time for our story. So let's give a warm welcome to storyteller Dave Tong.
Hello, Super Great Kids. This is Dave Tong, the yarnsmith of Norwich storyteller. I travel a land telling my tales. I wander the road bringing wonder wherever I go. And you know, sometimes I tell sad stories. Sometimes I tell serious stories. But I'll let you into a little secret. I really like to tell silly stories most of all. And this is one of the silliest stories you will ever hear. It's a medieval story from long, long ago. It takes us back to a time when there were cruel kings. Now, in truth, all my super great friends, I'll tell you this, there were lots of cruel, bad kings. But perhaps the worst of all was bad King John. In fact, he was so bad that when anyone heard his name, they would boo. At least that's how I imagine it, so I hope that all of you at home, you're going to boo along with me this day. For they called him Bad King John. They called him Horrible King John. They called him Not Very Nice King John. Because Bad King John, he didn't care about the likes of you, me, or anyone. All he cared about was hunting. Each and every day you would find him riding out of one of his many castles with a fine bird of prey, a hunting hawk upon his arm, and his long dogs, his hunting dogs, running at his horse's hooves. And each and every day he would hunt in the wild woods for the wild boar and the deer, and he would feast upon all that he caught. But one day, word got out that Bad King John, all of you at home, boo along with me, boo. Bad King John, he wanted to go hunting near a village called Gotham, a real village which is not that far from Sherwood Forest, whereas I'm sure all of you super great kids know Robin Hood lived long ago. But when the people of Gotham heard, they thought, oh no, this cannot be, for if Bad King John starts to hunt our land, we won't be able to hunt our land. If we're caught hunting our land when Bad King John is hunting our land, he'll do horrible, horrible things to us. What can we do? Well, what could they do? They came together in a large meeting. They talked and they talked and they talked and they talked. They made a plan, and they waited for the king's men to come. Now, they didn't have to wait very long, because a few days later, the king's herald, the king's messenger, rode into the village of Gotham. And as he rode into the village, he looked all around. And as he looked all around, he thought, this is very strange. For normally when he rode into a village, people would run from their houses to see the fine men upon their fine horses. But the village was quiet. There was no one around. And so he continued riding through the village until he got to the pond. And when he got to the pond, he saw a girl who I'm sure looked like many of you, except whilst I hope you are all smiling and laughing along loud and lustily at home, or at least enjoying it. I'll tell you, she was sad. Tears were running down the girl's face. Well, such were her tears. The herald said to her, he said, my poor child, my poor girl, what ails thee? Why are you so sad? And the girl spoke these words. She said, it's the moon from the sky has drowned. For just last night, as I walked past the pond, I saw the moon in the pond. I tried to save her. I tried to pull her out with my stick, but I couldn't, and now she's sunk beneath the water. The moon is dead. Well, my super young friends, I wonder if you are smiling a smile as broad as a lesser person's shoulder. I wonder if you are laughing long, loud and lustily, because of course it wasn't the moon, was it? It was the reflection. You knew that. I'm sure your parents and others listening knew that. I knew that, and the herald knew that. He said, this girl is clearly mad. She is a fool. She is a ninny-hammer, for that's how they talked long ago. We best be on our way, said he. But no sooner had the herald turned his horse than he heard a door slam, and a man came running down the road holding a wriggly, slippery eel, a fish, in his hands. He leapt into the pond, splosh. He held the fish under water and said, that'll teach you, fish. The herald looked at the man standing up to his knees in the pond, and he said, why, oh why are you doing that? And the man spoke these words. He said, this fish is a bad fish. This fish is an horrible fish, for this fish is a greedy fish. He ate all the other fish in the pond, and so we've decided to punish him. We've decided to drown the fish in the pond. Well, now again, I'm sure all of my super great friends at home, you are all laughing long, loud and lustily, smiling as broad as a lesser person's shoulders. For of course, we all know that fish live in water. You knew that. Your parents knew that. I'm sure everyone listening with you knew that. I knew that, and the herald knew that. He said, this man is mad. He is a fool. We best be on our way. But no sooner had they turned their horses, no sooner did they continue on their way, than they met an old man riding upon an even older horse. Imagine that if you can. He was riding upon a horse, but still the old man, he carried a heavy sack of grain upon his back, and so heavy was the sack upon the old man's back that he was forced to lean over the horse's neck as he rode along. And so when they got close, the herald said to the old man, he said, "Tell me, grandfather, why do you ride upon a horse, yet still you carry a heavy sack of grain upon your back? Or why not put the sack on your horse's back, so that you don't have to carry it?" But the old man, he looked at the herald as if he was mad. He said, "I would not be so cruel. My horse is very old. My horse is very tired. I carry the sack on my back so that the poor old horse, he doesn't have to." Again, I'm sure you're laughing. I hope you are, smiling broadly as a lesser person's shoulders, because, of course, as you all know, the poor old horse was carrying the man and the sack upon his back. You knew that, your friends knew that, I knew that, the herald knew that. He said, "This man is clearly mad. He is a fool. He is a ninny-hammer. We best be on our way." Once more they began to ride through the village, but they hadn't gone very far when they came upon 12 men standing by a stream, all of them holding fishing rods, all of them wailing and sobbing loudly, just like the girl from the start of my story. And so when they got close, the herald said, "Tell me, why do you all cry like babies?" Well, one of them stepped forward, and he said, "Know this. This morning early, 12 friends we went fishing. But now we go home for our supper, we find that one of us is missing. One of us must be drowned. For look," he stepped forward, and now that man, still sobbing, he counted the others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You see, one of us is drowned. Again, you know the answer. I can see you all smiling as broad as a lesser person's shoulder. I hope you are laughing long, loud and lustily by this time, for of course he forgot to count himself. You knew that. Your friends knew that. We all know that. Certainly the herald knew that. He turned to his men, and he said, "These 12 men are fools. They are dullards. We best be on our way." Once more they began to ride through the village. But they hadn't gone very far when they met many of the men of Gotham, many of the women of Gotham, many of the children of Gotham, all coming the other way, and each and every one of them's got a great big heavy bundle of wood under each arm, huffing and puffing under the hot summer sun. And so when they got close, the herald said to all and one and all, he says, "Tell me, my friends, where are you going with those great big bundles of wood? Why not set them down upon the grass and rest a while?" Well, it fell to the oldest one amongst them to speak, an old man. And the old man said, "Herald, herald, do you see over there that there is a field?" And the herald looked, and he saw a wide open field. "Herald, herald," says the old man, "do you see in that field that there is a tall, tall tree?" And sure enough, when the herald looked, he saw a large oak tree. "Herald, herald," says the old man, "do you see in that tree that there is a cuckoo bird? And it's the prettiest cuckoo that we have ever seen, and it's got the prettiest cuckoo that we have ever heard." Now, you know what, my super young friends, you don't hear many cuckoos these days, so you know what you got to do after 3. 1, 2, 3, cuckoo. With me, cuckoo. "Oh," said the old man, "it's as pretty as that. So pretty is the cuckoo bird, what we're going to do is this. We're going to take our bundles of wood and we're going to build a low fence all the way around that tree so that we can trap that cuckoo bird, so that we can keep that cuckoo all for ourselves. One last time I ask you, are you laughing long, loud and lustily? I hope you're smiling as broad as a lesser person's shoulders. I know I am." Well, actually, I'm not sure if the herald was. He couldn't believe it. He said, "These people are mad. They are more foolish than the girl who thought the moon had drowned. They are more mad than the man who tried to drown a fish. They are all cuckoo. We best be on our way." And so it was quickly The Herald and his men, they rode all the way out of the village of Gotham, all the way back to bad King John. All of you at home, boo along with me. Boo. And the Herald said, John, John, for he knew him very well. He said, whatever you do, do not go hunting near the village of Gotham, for they are a village of fools. And so it was, he didn't go hunting near that village. They kept their wild boar, their deer, and their long-legged hare for themselves. For whilst they were a village of fools, there was much wisdom, there was much cleverness in their madness. There ends that tale, super young friends. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, fare thee well.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave, for sharing that story. Ninny-hammer. That is such a good expression, isn't it? You might want to add that one to your family sayings. Oh, silly me, I'm such a ninny-hammer. That was a brilliantly silly story, but did you notice it was also a trickster story? The clever people of Gotham tricked the Herald and got rid of bad King John. Hurrah! Can you think of any other stories where regular people or small animals outwit someone big and powerful? How about Brer Rabbit and Tiger? Do you remember that one? Where Rabbit ties Tiger to the tree, pretending there's a big wind coming. Or the grandmother in How the Mosquito Became, who tricks the whistling giants into falling into a deep pit. Trickster stories are such fun, aren't they? Now, lots of owlets have been hopping into our nest, so it's time to dip into my bag of happies and say hello to some of you. Let's begin in the US and say hello to Owlet sisters from Longmont in Colorado, Simone, who is 5, and Ruby, who is 3. They are super fans and listen to the podcast twice a day, going to and from school. Their favourites are all the stories from Toop. Recently, they've got very brave and have enjoyed listening to the scary stories like Ghost of the Bloody Finger and Ruby Red Lips. Let's fly next to Austin in Texas to welcome 6-year-old Will, who turns 7 this month. His favourites are Misery, The Hairy Toe, and all the Anansi stories. Welcome to the nest, Will, and have a happy day when it comes. And let's flip-flap-fly east now to Nashville in Tennessee to say hello to Pearl, who is 6.5, and Sybil, who is 4, and hello to their cousins in Australia, Rio and Isla. Pearl and her family have recently moved from San Francisco to Nashville. They're originally from Australia and speak both Dutch and English because, lucky them, their mum speaks with them in her language, Dutch. Lucky you, having so many cultural inputs. Their favourite stories include The Ghost of the Bloody Finger, Baba Yaga, The Magic Orange Tree and Cap of Rushes. And we're heading next to Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania to say hello to Evelyn, who is 9, and Joaquin, who is 7. Their dad is from Nicaragua and mum from the US, so the children are growing up with a blend of both cultures. Their all-time favourite story is The Ghost of the Bloody Finger. And their dad, Mariano, has shared a scary story he learned when growing up about 2 dogs. So watch this space for a scary story from Nicaragua. And let's fly east next to Boston in Massachusetts to say hello to superfans Owlet's 7-year-old Morris and 4-year-old Eli. They both love Anansi and Baba Yaga stories. Welcome to the nest. Across the Atlantic Sea now and over to Cheltenham in the UK to say hello to Owlet's Ash, who is 7, and Scarlett, who is 12. Ash likes the scary story of the hairy toe and the old woman and her pig. He just can't stop laughing at all the noises in that story. And Scarlett likes Anansi and the Unknown Challenge. Staying now in the UK, let's fly next to Kintbury in West Berkshire to say hello to 7-year-old Holly. Holly drew a really beautiful picture of how the leopard got his spots. I love the way your leopard looks so sorry for eating all those yams, and how the lion with his magnificent mane is saying that he'll give leopard another chance. Good writing too, Holly, thank you. Holly's favourite story is The Woodsman and the Forest Spirit, told by Toop. We're heading to Lansfield in Australia next to say hello to new owlets Emma, who is 6, and Jack, who is 9. They listen to Super Great Kids stories every night when they're going to bed. Jack's favourite story is The Ghost of the Bloody Finger, and Emma's is The Hairy Toe. I hope bloody fingers and hairy toes don't creep into your dreams though, Jack and Emma. And hold tight because we're heading now all the way to Malaysia to say hello to superfan 8-year-old Julian, who's been listening since he was 5. Wow. Julian loves all the stories and his favourites are Baba Yaga, Anansi and The Gingerbread Man, told by Jason Buck. And back across the ocean to Dobbs Ferry in New York now to say hello to 5-year-old owlet Finn. Finn especially likes all the scary stories, including The Ghost of the Bloody Finger, Water Mama and the Baba Yaga stories. Welcome to the nest, Finn. That's it for Owlet Hellos this week. More welcomes next week. And thanks very much to all of you owlets who continue to support our podcast. If you'd like to support us on Apple Podcasts or on Patreon, we'll say hello to you on the show. And you can hear our stories advert-free. And you'll get access to our Super Great Kids Stories Express with short introductions, no adverts, purely story. Great for long journeys and listening to stories back to back. And you'll have access to over 40 bonus stories and at least 25 super great scary stories. And our Pick of the Week picture goes to 6-year-old Henry, who lives in Surrey here in the UK. Henry has drawn an imaginative picture of Urashima Taro, a fairy tale from Japan, told by Masako Carey. Henry has drawn Taro and the princess sitting at either end of a long table in their underwater castle. We especially like all the different sea creatures you've drawn, including the whale, octopus and the crab sitting in the middle of the table, and you've even included the turtle from the story too. A brilliant drawing. Thanks for sharing that with us, Henry. If you'd like to see that, you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Super Great Kids Stories. That's it for this week. And we have exciting news soon of another online show with Jason Buck. Watch this space. I hope you have a happy week, whether you're back at school or just about to head that way. Happy listening. Keep telling your stories and singing your songs. And remember, if you're a subscriber, we've got a bonus story this week, which is another one from Dave Tong, and a bonus story from Marion Leaper. This podcast was produced at Wardour Studios in fabulous Fitzrovia in London.